In this video, you'll see everything from a huge subungual callus to the results of wearing a titanium thread for a whole 2 months. But first, let's start from the beginning. I take off my socks and show you what the titanium thread looks like after a whole 2 months. And here in the little square photo, I'm showing the result after just 12 days. Well, to be honest, my model went a bit overboard with wearing the titanium thread. But on the other hand, I'll have the opportunity to show you that this composite really holds up well. As you can see, the titanium thread slipped down quite a lot, it grew out a lot, but even so, the composite stayed on her nails, and that's a good result. The bad news is that the titanium thread worked almost too well and really opened up the nail quite a bit for us. And the logical question is, what will happen to these nails now, and how bad is it? Today we're going to use a one-step gel polish to avoid causing any extra curling of these nails. And I'll continue telling the story of what happened here and how. Of course, I won't miss the chance to mention that I'm working with the Dr. Alex SP 130 machine. This is the machine I've been working with for several years and it has never let me down. By the way, it's brushless and silent, and you can even switch it while it's running. It's very convenient. And while I was telling you about Alex, I already managed to remove the titanium thread. As you can see, it's done very easily. First, I slightly cut into the bead with a carbide burr, then I removed the titanium thread itself, and after that I got rid of the composite, which absolutely didn't require any prep liquids and also cures with a regular lamp. For the treatment, I'll use talc powder from Domex Photostop. This is a product I use every time during a pedicure, and it has a pleasant menthol scent. It also makes things easier. It simplifies and protects me when working with diamond burrs. Let's start with the cuticle. I'll push it back with an anatomically shaped pusher. This is one of my favorite pushers. It has a soft, pleasant, rounded spatula that doesn't scratch, and it's very comfortable for clients. And on the other side, it has what's called a hatchet. Right now, I'm showing you what our nail folds look like. Here the nail is uncurled, but even so it keeps rubbing against the skin, which causes a large amount of dry, excess skin to form. With the help of a curette, we're going to scrape a little bit there. I know you really like these kinds of videos. Honestly, I like them too. When I'm editing, I sometimes get caught up watching myself. So what do we have here? A huge amount of compressed, rubbery skin. Not exactly hard, but more like rubbery skin that keeps sticking to the skin. So this isn't just subungual material, it's actually that very callus here. I specifically filmed it with a macro camera so you could see it as clearly as possible. You can see what a periungual or subungual callus really looks like. Well, let's just call it a combined one, because honestly it's hard to say exactly what to call it. The main thing is that it gets in the way. The main thing is that it's not pretty. And most importantly, you definitely need to get rid of it, not just mechanically, but also by offloading. That's exactly why we installed the correction system. And also it's important to have a talk with your client about prevention. And spoiler alert, it doesn't always work. And most of the time they don't do anything about it. But as professionals, we continue our work and perform all the necessary procedures. In this case, I've already armed myself with a special pair of tweezers. I'll show the picture here and explain the tweezers right away. Inside, at the tips, there are special little teeth that help us work with elements like these. This way your tweezers won't slip. For me, this is a real must-have, especially when it comes to working with a nail edge that's grown into the skin, or a situation like the one we have here in this video. Because it's impossible to grab it with anything else, and simply cutting it off with nippers is actually not the best option. Because first we need to work this callus out, expose it and clean it out using diamond bits. I'll show you how I'm going to do it now. And only then, if something really won't come out, you can trim it. But today, I'll manage using only the bits. I'm showing you the other side. By the way, there's less buildup here because the toe itself isn't rotated with this side facing up. So the problem here is that the toe is turned and it gets the maximum amount of pressure and friction. I've already picked up a diamond bit. Mine has a blue band. And here with a close-up macro shot, I'm trying to show you how I clean this area up. My movements here are of course quite clumsy. But cut me some slack because I was working through the video camera. I wasn't looking at the toe itself, I was looking through the lens. That way I could actually show you how it's done. And as you can see, this very callus around the nail goes right inside, straight into the skin. And basically it really reminds us of a core callus, except that it forms not just at some random spot on the foot, but specifically near the nail. So basically it goes deep inside with its rubbery component. And in this case, our task is to gently pull back the fold and very carefully, very delicately clean everything off. And the main thing here is not to overdo it. Because when you're filing, it always feels like there's no end to it. It's like you have an unlimited callus that you could just keep filing forever. But in reality, that's absolutely not the case, so you always need to make sure to stop in time. Because our main goal is to remove only the unnecessary dry skin, and of course you absolutely shouldn't touch the living, healthy skin. Because this can provoke the opposite effect and your client will end up with even more build-up. That's why obsessively cleaning until it's Instagram perfect and creating Instagram-worthy nail folds is only needed to sell you some fancy course, not to actually help your client stay problem-free. In this case, I'm also using some trimming nippers to show how I neutralize, so to speak, the corners. Yes, you can't cut out the corners that grow into the skin, and you can't round them off either. But the ones that remain outside and the ones that stay on top, you need to slightly smooth them out so that there are no sharp edges left. This is a very important point. To be honest, it's not really possible to explain this simply to, let's say, a pedicure enthusiast who cuts their own nails. So just take my word for it, you need to carefully smooth out the corners like this so they don't dig in further. But that doesn't mean you should leave a square edge here. I've already switched to a different bit. In this case, I'm using a bit with blue grit again, but this time it's a flame shape with a sharp tip. I use it for more precise work. In this case, when we're working with this kind of skin that's a bit rubbery and very dense, I recommend using diamond bits with blue, green or purple grit. I'm using the KMIS brand, as always. I also recommend setting a fairly high speed. This is necessary so that the rubbery skin of the callus catches on the diamond coating of your bit and actually gets pulled outward. Because unfortunately you won't be able to achieve this at low speeds no matter how hard you try. Today I want to show you as much work as possible, so this video is long. I know there are a lot of people who just really enjoy the visual aspect of this kind of work when everything gets cleaned out. So here you also have the treatment of the second toe with the same first bit. With the blue band, I also polish the surface of the nail plate itself, treat the side walls and work on the toe from all sides. Basically, I work everywhere here where it's possible to use this bit. It handles everything perfectly. I can also go over the free edge. But I'll probably speed up this part of the video a little because it could go on forever. Actually, I spent a really long time with this model because when you're filming, people often ask me how much time it takes. Filming takes a lot of time because you select shots and consider how to present things better and make it more comfortable for viewers. At the same time, it's actually really uncomfortable for you in that moment, and because of that, you end up spending even more time working. It's different when you're just sitting comfortably as you should, in a nice chair or a comfortable armchair. I don't have that set up yet because I'm still creating my own separate school. For that, I've bought some amazing equipment. By the way, I already have reviews of chairs on my YouTube channel. As always, while I was talking, I completely went off on a tangent. And here, by the way, I've already moved on to the cut line. For work, I use my absolute favorite scissors. They're S04J from Nippon Nippers. This model has a curved tip, and it fits perfectly along the sidewall. I honestly think that scissors with a straight tip aren't as versatile and not as nimble, especially when it comes to pedicures. In my opinion, for pedicures, you should either use nippers that you know how to handle. If you don't have that skill, then use scissors with a curved tip. That way you'll do well along the sidewalls, and the cut will be smooth and even. By the way, I always buff the cut line afterward. For this, I like to use diamond bits with a large diameter. A 50 or maybe even a 60 if you can find one. But in this case, I have a blue microbit. I like it, but the speed is low here. Again, I'm working with Dr. Alex SP 130. These are the most premium in their lineup, and it's perfect for e-file manicure or pedicure. Right now, my speed is 6000. In the meantime, we've already prepared everything. I've already put in the separators. Now we'll apply the one-phase gel. I'm going to use the brand ZZ Color. First, I took a dehydrator. It's important to apply it super thinly, and we choose the shade. My model chose number 25. It's a very complex color. And it's especially difficult to apply if you're working with a one-phase system. But I want to say that the ZZ Color brand has actually been used in my salon for a very long time. In particular, we bought them several years ago, just as regular ordinary one-phase gel. I especially like their red line. And I want to say that even the pastel options, which by the way clients choose very often, perform really well. I always apply the single-phase gel in 2 thin layers, because first of all you don't need to do any leveling with gel polish. It doesn't matter if they're single-phase or 3-phase. And secondly, this way the color application turns out more even. And here I often get asked if the layers will separate from each other. There's a little secret. If you want to work with a single-phase gel in 2 layers, I recommend not curing the first layer completely. That is, yes, I do cure it. Yes, I cure it in a regular lamp as well. By the way, I wanted to show you this little gadget. I have a lamp called Lampimen. It's cordless. It also sits on a special stand on the floor. Overall, it's very convenient for pedicures. So, in order to prevent your single-phase gels from peeling, meaning the layers separating from each other, you need to undercure the first layer a little bit. So if the manufacturer recommends curing for 1 minute, cure it for about 40 seconds instead. And because your first layer is super thin, you don't have to worry that it won't cure properly. Everything will definitely dry. But even so, there will still be a slight undercuring and a barely noticeable stickiness on the first layer of the one-phase gel, which actually will help you deal with the fear of the layers separating. But I recommend curing the second layer thoroughly all the way through. For both the first and the second layer, as always, I use a thin brush and make sure to cure it first with a small lamp. Just in case, I always cure one-step gels not for 60 but for 100 or 120 seconds to make sure the shine stays until the end. Next, we dust off the free edge, apply oil, and you're done. Here I was filming one finger for you as a demonstration. I painted the rest off camera just to make it faster. As I mentioned earlier, my filming always takes a really long time. I try to film just one finger, and then I show you the fully finished result, which you can now see in the video. Yes, it's not Instagram perfect nails. Yes, it's not a perfectly super square shape, but at least it's anatomical. And by the way, if anyone noticed, the model already came with nails trimmed into a peaked shape. So we shaped the nails as best as we could, but on the big toe, we made the shape that should be there. There will never be, and shouldn't be, a square shape on these particular toes, because the correct shape is like this, slightly rounded and oval.